our next guest is going to be talking to you about how to show up with purposeful energy. And one thing I learned from going on these 2,000 auditions was that within the first 2 to 6 seconds, when you walk into a room, people are already having an opinion about you. Good, bad, whatever it is. And a lot of that has to do with what you are subconsciously communicating to whoever it is that you are walking in front of. So what you want to do is think about the energy, the 3 core values when you walk into a room. It's like Tamian said, that soil, you're walking into the room. The energy is you are spreading out that fertile soil when you walk into the room with the 3 core energy values that you choose to be defined by. That way, whatever comes out of your mouth after that lands on that fertile soil that you just walked into the room with. A good exercise, try to watch a TV show with the volume down. Watch a sitcom, watch a drama, and then watch a Spanish telenovela. I promise you, you'll be able to follow essentially what's going on with the story because actors are really good at communicating the energy that they bring to a situation. And they show up with purpose connected to their objective. So our next guest, her name is Sheila Anderson, and she's going to be talking to us about branding and how to show up with purpose and with style, because this woman looks like she just walked off the runways of New York City. Please put your hands together for Miss Sheila Anderson.
Well, hello. We're coming to the end of the day, and I applaud you for still being here and trying to level up yourself, right? I know there's some snacks in the back, so please, I'm hoping this will stay on me here. Please go ahead and help yourself to that as well. So my name is Sheila Anderson. I live here in Sioux Falls. I have 30 years of corporate branding experience. I went to modeling school when I was 39 years old just to learn how to walk in heels, to gain self-confidence, and I did some improv classes. I believe I probably should have grown up in the 1950s or 60s because I love that era, and you can tell that I love mixing modern with vintage. So that's a little bit about who I am, but now we're going to get to who you are. So we've talked about branding earlier today. Colin talked about deciding like who you are as a person, and we're going to go deeper a little bit now into being unforgettable with your personal brand, and what does that mean? So, all right, what is personal branding? We hear that buzzword all the time, and sometimes it's hard for us to define that. And excuse me, I do have a cold, so I am hoping my voice handles 30 minutes, but I think we're going to be good to go. Anyway, so what is personal branding? It's such a buzzword, isn't it? I define personal branding as owning that experience that others have with you, that nobody else has with you. And if we think about branding, even in the corporate branding world, if you think about the brand Starbucks, it's not a coffee brand. They sell coffee, but really what are they selling? A place to go to connect and meet people. They're selling that experience. You just happen to grab coffee there, and it's a meeting place. So when you think about branding, it's that experience that others have with you when they're interacting with you. So let me ask you this question. If your name came up in a room full of decision makers, what's the one word that they would think of when they thought of you? And most people don't think about that, how they're coming across. You've already judged me. Some of you have come up and met me before I got up on stage, but you've already determined who you think I am from just a few seconds that you've seen me. You watched me walk up on stage. You watched my posture. You looked at what I'm wearing. You looked at maybe how I've styled my hair, my eyewear, how I'm speaking, all those things, and you've already prejudged who I am. And many of us will say, I don't judge people. Yes, we do. We all do it. And for us, it's a little bit like having curb appeal. You know, when you're shopping for a house and you're driving by and you're like, no, shutter's a little off, it looks a little dingy, not well kept up. I'm just going to keep going to the next house and keep driving by. But something about a person has curb appeal, and it can be visually. It can also be the communication style that Damien's talked about and Colin's talked about. All those little details add up to what a personal brand is. You are your most important asset. And you could be leaving money on the table with how you're showing up. So think of yourself as an asset. You have value. You bring value to other people in a way that nobody else can. Right? You are authentic. You are different. We all could be in the same industry. Maybe we could all be bankers, but we all bring a different perspective of that and our story to what we do. So what is the purpose of personal branding? It's to be seen, to be heard, to be valued, to be understood, but ultimately, it's to be top of mind. People need to know you before they need you. And so, Casey, we're going to get the sports car out of the garage, right? So that's what we're here to do. I'm here to polish up that sports car a little bit, and let's get it out of the garage and go. Okay, so little personal branding 101. You can take a screenshot of this. But where do you start? And I think Colin did a fabulous job at talking about this. Casey talked about this as well earlier. What are your skills? Write those down. You should have your own core values, and you should know what those are. It can be 3 values, 5 values, whatever it is. Who are you at your core? Because really, personal branding is about bringing out who you are and offering that value to other people. So write that down. What are your skills? What are your values? And if you have trouble thinking about, I don't know what I'm good at. I don't, sometimes people struggle with this. We can write down a list of things that we're terrible at. That's easy for us to do. But what am I good at? We struggle with that sometimes. And if you have problems with that, think about, what do people ask you to do? What do people compliment you on most often? Maybe you are a really good writer and people always ask you to, hey, can you help me write this? Can you help me write this email? Can you help me write this content? And you don't realize that really is a skill set that you could be used and you could be amplifying. Next, you have to have a goal. Oh my gosh, when Damien said that percentage just a few minutes ago, I thought, what? People don't have goals. You need to have a goal. You need to know what your goal is for yourself and what you can bring to other people through that goal. And know your audience. That's a little bit of marketing 101. Know who you want to attract. Because when you have a really good, well-defined, intentional, and consistent and authentic personal brand, man, you're kind of unstoppable. So know your audience and know your brand personality. We're going to talk about this in a little bit. You saw in the book the 12 brand archetypes in there that Colin put in there. I'm going to touch on that a little bit later as well. But it's knowing what your brand personality is. We all have our own little personality, but when we're trying to project ourselves, really what is that personality that we want to project? And then number 5 is that visual identity. As humans, we're wired to interpret things visually first. So people will look at your brand elements or attributes. They'll look at your logo. They'll look at your website. They'll look at the images you post on social media. They'll look at what you're wearing. They look at all of that. All those visual elements, all those little details add up to one big package. So your visual identity, we have branding people here that can help you with that. Next is that digital ecosystem. I think the C-Suite Network absolutely has this freaking nailed, right? The digital ecosystem. So making sure that you're amplifying your brand, getting that out there. Also, are you using the social media platforms that your audience is on or where you want to be on? You don't have to be on everything, right? Pick 2 or 3 things that resonate with who you are and what makes sense for your brand. For me, I'm very visual. Instagram makes sense for my brand. LinkedIn makes sense for everybody because it's a business. And people will Google you before they meet you. And what are we curious about? What do they look like? One of the first things that comes up in a Google search is your LinkedIn profile. So make sure that is filled out correctly, and there's people that can help you with that, with your LinkedIn profile. Use that digital ecosystem. And then number 7, have a point of view. Have a point of view. Make sure you stand firm on your position, on what you stand for, on your thought leadership on a subject, on the subject that you want to own, the category that Jeffrey Hazlett talks about, the category that you should own. Have a point of view. It doesn't matter if it's right or wrong. It's your point of view, and that's why they're hiring you. That's why they're going to come to you. Your business is because you have a strong point of view. They like your point of view. And you know what? One of the hardest lessons for me to learn was to have a point of view. And I want it to be liked by everybody, right? I think we all kind of want to do that. But it's okay. You don't have to be everybody's cup of tea, nor should you be. Personal branding is about understanding who you are, knowing who that audience is that you want to attract. And you can't cater to everyone. You have to niche down and figure out who really will resonate with you. And having a brand voice, that goes into a little bit of the communication style, the words you use. If I call your voicemail, what kind of message am I hearing? If I get an email from you, what's the tone of that email? And when you're writing content, is it all a similar tone of voice? And give value. I think people forget this sometimes. But as a personal brand, as you're building your personal brand, you want to add value, right? That's what you're trying to add value, add value, add value. And eventually people will come to you, will come to your business, and will come to your company. And then engage. You have to go out and interact with people. Again, people need to know you before they need you, so you need to start engaging. Oh, okay. All right, is this better? Okay. Now we're going to do a little bit of exercise. When I asked at the beginning of the session, what is that one word that you want to own in the minds of others when they think of you? What is that word? In your workbook on page 37, there's a page, and I think it says the core compass, and I want you to write down what your word is. What is that word that you want people to think about when they think of you, when they're talking about you, when they're reading an email from you, when they're looking at your website, when they look you up on social media, when they walk by you on the street? Does everybody have a word? Okay. So now you have labels on your table. If you don't, I have some extras over here in this table to the left. You have some labels on your table. And what we're going to do is we're going to get up and we're going to interact with people in the room. And we're going to write down the word that comes to mind for that person. And we're going to stick it on their back. You have sheets, there's 5 labels on there. You don't have to use them all. In a setting like this, most of the time, right, you're going to probably be nice, which is fine. But I want you to get up and I want you to interact with people. And the good thing is, a lot of you don't know each other. You've just met each other. And so those first impressions are interesting, aren't they? Research shows that we interact with about 80,000 people in our lifetime. And all those first impressions that people have of us. So let's get up, and we're going to spend a few minutes, and we're going to just do a group activity. I am not off, right? You can come up to me and put a label on my back. That is totally fine. So I'm going to step down from stage for a little bit. I'm going to give you 5 minutes to do this. And starting 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, go. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Ignition, right? Let's go. All right, so now help each other take those labels off your back and put them on the paper in front of you, and let's see how they relate to your word. Some of you, the words are similar, and that means you're coming across in a very, right, you know your brand, you're coming across authentically, consistently. Some of you, it may be a little kind of across the board. We just have a little bit of work to do, but we all do, right? I am certainly not have arrived either. And some of you may be surprised at some of the words, like, I never thought about that for myself. I like that. It's a compliment. So I think it's, for personal branding, we have to be self-aware of who we are, but we also have to be aware of how we're coming across. And sometimes our perception of how we're coming across just needs a little brand check, right? Just check your BP, I call it. You'll do a brand pulse check. So hopefully that exercise was a little bit enlightening. There's one thing that I want you to walk away with today is, what is my word? How is that showing up? So I want you to write on that paper, I, the letter I, the letter B, the letter C, and the letter R. And so your word should show up, for I means in your image. How you're showing up with your clothing, the imagery you're using, and how is your word showing up for B as business? How is that coming across in your business life, your business communications, your business in general? Is there alignment there? C is, how is it showing up in your communication? And R is in your relationships. Everything communicates. Everything we do, everything we say, and everything we wear has consequences. It's either adding to or subtracting from our brand. I said this before, but half of our brain is devoted to visual information. So we take in things visually. So pay attention to how you walk into the networking room, how you walk into that meeting with the client. What are you wearing? I also have in your book certain colors that you can wear that will help you send a message. So if you have an important meeting coming up, or if you have to have a difficult conversation with someone, brown is a really good color to wear if you have to have a difficult conversation with an employee in your office, because that's very grounding. Brown is very grounding for people. So that I'm not going to go into a lot of detail on that, but it's something for you to be aware of, because color does communicate. It does send a message. It matters in the clothing choices you wear. It matters in the brand, your corporate branding, right? Your logo, all your visual elements that Casey and his team can help you with. And remember, you are a walking billboard. Your brand never sleeps. It's on 24 hours a day. People are Googling you. People are thinking about you. They're maybe reading an email from you. They're reading a blog. Your brand never sleeps. This is something you can take a quick picture of. I'm not going to spend a lot of time on it. But your brand identity, it's a holistic representation of who you are. It's just not one element, right? It's the whole story of who you are. These are all the things that can make up your brand identity, your personal brand identity. Colin touched on this a little bit. There's 12 brand archetypes. So in your notebook, Colin's got a page on there for this. It's actually this is the exact same graphic there. But one thing I want to mention when you're looking at the 12 brand archetypes, to look at how do I pick one, right? You're going to have to do a little research. You can Google it. There's a lot of information out there on it. But look at the core. Look at those 4 things in the middle. What resonates with you most? Do you want to leave a legacy in that top quadrant, the top right quadrant? Are you really more about pure connection? Do you have a passion to provide structure? Or are you more about spirituality? So that's where you start. You pick which one of those 4 resonates with you most. And then you pick which one of those in your quadrant really resonates with you. And you do it for yourself for personal branding. You also do it for your audience. Who is my audience? So you'll know how to speak to them, but it also helps you to figure out how you're going to show up. Okay, so now we got to get the sports car out of the garage, right? So how do you amplify your brand? Again, the C-Suite Network can help you with this. And so can Colin and his team and then those other people in here. Defining your strategy, having that online presence, create compelling content. We consume content all day long. Engage with your audience, right? Get out there, get on a stage and speak. Show your thought leadership. Get on a podcast. Look at how many podcasts C-Suite Network has. There's ample opportunity for you to get your thought leadership out there. Network, that's what you're doing here. Collaborations. I hope you've met people today that you can collaborate with to help elevate each other's personal brands and their corporate brand. Leverage social proof, get testimonials. I hope you do a testimonial today for this conference. I know the team would really appreciate that. I think that's the least we can do is give them a testimonial, whether it's written or a video, but get testimonials and give testimonials. And stay updated and evolve yourself. Sometimes a brand looks really tired. And you might need a brand refresh. And you might need to, maybe your goals have changed for you personally. And then that's time to maybe look at, how am I coming across? Who does that person, how do I get to be that person to go to the next level? You have to change sometimes. And your brand has to change with it sometimes. Seek media opportunities and invest in personal development, which you're doing here. So I'm going to close with this. What is that one word you want to own in the minds of others when they think of you? What are those words you never want used to describe you? A year from now, if you take that word and build it out, is it going to help you hit your goals? Personal branding sometimes is not all about you. It's about that value you bring to others that nobody else can in your own authentic way. Right? Lady Gaga, I walked onto the stage with Lady Gaga, Born This Way. You were born for such a time as this. Right? There's nobody else out there like you. Nobody else is you. You all have gifts. You all have certain characteristics. You have your own personality that people want to be around. They need you. And I had a mentor tell me, Sheila, you are being selfish if you are not getting out there to help people. If you are not putting yourself out there because somebody needs you. So I want you to take your personal brand seriously, to come up with your word, and incorporate it into everything you do. Because once you're intentional and once you're consistent, the world's going to look and say, I see you. Thank you.